In the Middle Ages, bread wasn't just a side dish, was the foundation of life. For the average person, bread provided up to 80% of their daily calories. But your bread said everything about you, your wealth, your status, and even your legal standing. Today, we're stepping back into the village bakery to see how a humble grain became the center of the medieval world. Not all bread was created equal. At the top was fine white wheat bread, so white and soft it was reserved for royalty. Then there was maziv, a mix of wheat and rye used by the middle class. But for the peasantry, it was horse bread, made from beans, peas, and bran. It was dark and heavy. However, there was a hidden danger. In damp years, rye could grow ergot fungus, a hallucinogenic mold. This caused outbreaks of St. Anthony's fire, leading to madness and even lost limbs. Peasants weren't allowed to own their own ovens. They had to pay a fee to use the Lord's communal oven because bread was so vital. It was strictly regulated by the assize of bread and ale. If a baker cheated the weight or padded the flour with chalk or sawdust, the punishment was public and brutal. They might be drawn through the streets on a hurdle with the light loaf tied around their neck. This is where the baker's dozen comes from. Bakers added a 13th loaf just to be sure they weren't underweight. Making the bread was an all-day affair. Grain was ground by hand or at the local mill. Without commercial yeast, medieval bakers used barm, the foam from the top of fermenting beer. The dough was kneaded in massive wooden troughs called tills. There were no tins. Loaves were freeform, shaped by hand. Loaves were slid into the roaring stone oven using a long wooden paddle called a peel. The smell would have been incredible, but the crust was often thick and charred to protect the soft interior. Bread was so central that it even served as the plate. Trenchers were thick slabs of stale bread used to hold meat and gravy. By the end of the meal, the bread had soaked up all the juices. If you were wealthy, you gave these juice-soaked trenchers to the poor at your gate. So, the next time you grab a plastic-cracked loaf, remember the medieval baker, the person who held the scales of life.